It's no secret that every single North American constantly wakes up, drenched in sweat, wondering to themselves, how the fuck is this shithole gonna get invaded? Well, I'm about to tell you every single plausible scenario as to how to properly invade the US. There are multiple routes within the North American continent to actually invade, which one being the fucking North Pole and the coastlines of the western portion of the United States. Or you could be a cheeky little shit and fucking come from the underside and fucking hit a motherfucker right in his gooch. But the fact of the matter is North America is one big, birthy, girthy F-350 and it can roll down a hill just like some of the women in your town. Now, since the dawn of the Soviet fucking Union, they've had this great, glorious plan to fucking take Alaska back. Obviously through Vladimir Putin's fucking illogical, irate fucking speeches. He's made it very quite clear that Alaska is on that dinner platter. It's not a gold dinner platter. No, it's just a really cold fucking dinner platter. Now, speaking of the fucking cold, this is literally, in my opinion, the last fucking location you really want to invade from because, well, it's a snowy, winterless wasteland, majority of the fucking entire rotation around the sun, and, in my opinion, is a complete waste of fucking utter time, which, in anybody's logical mind, actually leads to an actual fucking invasion here because the Japanese actually did that. You see these islands in between my fucking face? The Japanese controlled most of that throughout World War II. Fun fucking fact. Now, generally when it comes to invasion, you really do want to come from the one area where no one suspects you to literally come from, which North America has been looking up this whole fucking time. Which now it leads to that soft little Mexico pussy. It's no secret that the United States and Mexico literally don't have a fucking border. They built a fence. Texas tried to do something, it's fucking useless. There is literally no fucking border between the United States and Mexico. Now, anybody with a fucking brain would know that a best option here would to send sleeper cells across the border that is completely fucking unprotected, and while also keeping people within that one country that lets you the fuck in, waiting, essentially. If you get what I'm saying. Now, would this work? Absolutely fucking not. Mainly because being Texas, did I say Texas? Oh, right, Texas. Texas has half the United States fucking army stationed right then and there. Then we're also going to speak about Mexico. Mexico is on the side of the United States. Whether they want to be or not, they really don't have a choice. It's like being stuck next to a fucking cobra, and if you move, it bites you. So, they really don't have that option. They're like, shit. Rock in a hard place and I'm about to get pegged. There's nothing I can do. And then, obviously, Southern California has half the United States Marine Corps stationed there at all fucking times. So, this is where the whole logic of, yeah, the border's kind of weak, but if shit got real, I'm not really worried. But the whole logical sense of sleeper cells slipping in could cause mass chaos, but that's when they run into a bunch of good old boys shit-faced off a Bush beer, running around with AR-15s that have just been chomping at the fucking bit to do some fucking goon shit. So, the United States has nothing to worry about an infiltrational process because instantaneously, you don't need organization in this country. It's literally like how you look at another person that you're friends with for a long time and communicate via eyes. Everybody knows their role. Everybody knows their place. Everybody knows what they are supposed to do if some dickhead walks across the border and starts causing some chaos. That now just leaves the West Coast, which in my opinion is, woo! She's pretty fucking open for season, buddy. You got a port right fucking here, you got a port right fucking here, and you got a port, and all those ports lead to big old major fucking roads that travel all the way across to the fucking United States. And anybody that knows modern warfare, he who controls the port and he who controls the road has a major fucking advantage here. Because warfare is now mobile. This is not your granddaddy's war where I go into a trench and I die in a wasteland. That's no longer the case. Because with all of these ports right here, that is a dangerous scenario for the United States. Because just losing one port, the Chinese And I'm just stating, as them being the only logical entity on planet Earth that could legitimately invade the US. The United Kingdom couldn't do it. France couldn't do it. France might be able to pull that off. But, speaking further, everybody else could pull this shit off. Not even fucking Russia. Russia could do this shit on their own. And when it comes to the French, I'm not giving you assholes props. I'm just saying, like, you actually have a standing military, but you wouldn't do much. Now we're going to look at the most logical fucking scenario that plausibly could happen, which would, in my opinion, if I were to do it, would be a feint attack at 29 Palms down here in San Diego. Yes, the marine mecca of the fucking world. But really, you're going to land right there in Vancouver, not Seattle. This is where you take in the logical sense of the Germans. The Germans didn't invade France through the front door. No, they went around that shit through Belgium, which drew everybody else into that shit. So they say. But, now you're asking yourself, why do I say Vancouver? Because it's fucking Canada. They don't have a goddamn military. Like, they literally have a standing force of, last I checked, 28,000. I pray to bejesus, the hierarch of the Altfathers, that Canada's managed to fucking go from 28,000 standing regulars to at least 29. I mean, this is Canada. Come on. There's literally nobody that lives there. I love you, Canada. You know this. I'm a Wisconsinite, so you already know. Canuckendom forever, yeah. But Vancouver is the most logical option because Seattle is not viable. None of this coast is fucking viable. You have so many fucking people that can respond within an instantaneous moment that you don't really need the U.S. military. The U.S. military can literally just waste thousands of U.S. civilians to bide them time. And the U.S. civilian population will do it happily. Like, we are Viking. We have a Viking mentality. We long to die in the trenches. It's the most fucking wild shit. It's insane how we want to just die in trenches. Now, Vancouver becomes the most viable option because Canada does not have that fucking distinction. Canada is not fuck around and find out made. Let me put it that way. They might be made if you... I don't want to really say it because I feel bad saying that because they don't even have this choice. I feel like Canadians... They want to have that warrior. They are the #1 war crime committers in human history. And they're not allowed to have a goddamn military. They're probably going to solve that in this election. But, again, Vancouver is the most fucking open port. Easily. You can literally smash right there into that fucker and drive through that motherfucker. There's nothing stopping it other than a few National Guard divisions that will take a fat fucking minute at least, and by fat minute I mean 4 days, to respond to head off right there. That's it. They're not going to come this way. They're going to land here, and they're going to come that fucking way. Because it's going to drive a wedge. And when you drive a wedge, you create a fucking problem. It's like cracking a block of fucking marble or concrete or a rock, put a few holes in it, and then take a chisel and crack your way through. And then expand. Canada, you're our Achilles heel. Let us station our troops.